Konnichiwa. Welcome to my channel. I'm your host, Samurai James. For this video, we're going to cover, let's see. Alright, so let's get started. I'm going to put a link here to my unboxing video for it. It came with plastic on the suka and on the blade for that. Kept the blade nice and clean when I got it. No signs of rust or anything else. All the wrap on the handle there, the Ito, was nice and tight. Didn't shuffle around or anything else during shipping. And after a year, it's still holding up just fine. I've cut a couple dozen bottles with it and a few tatami mats. And aside from a chip, which you'll see later on in the video, it's done very well. And the chip was my fault, so can't blame the sword on that one. Now, as far as specifications for this, I chose the fittings on it, the color, and everything else. The key parts are that the blade is 1060 heat-treated steel, and I went with the bohi option. It's sometimes called a blood groove. That's really erroneous. What it is a bevel inside of the blade that removes some of the material. This helps lighten up the blade a bit, but also gives it a little bit more strength as well, instead of a flat profile for that. The blade also came with the factory sharpening option on it. I have not sharpened or retouched this in any way, so all the cutting that you'll see will be with the factory edge as it came out of the box for that. Fit and finish on the sword are very good. There were no imperfections on it. The scabbard was nice and clean, no dents or dings. The Ito was nice and clean for that. There was nothing that was out of alignment. It's nice and tight. It's held up for the last year worth of cutting for that. Now, of course, I haven't cut as actively as I would like to for that, but that's what happens sometimes. I moved. I've also got a 5-month-old baby, so I simply haven't had the time to do that as much, but I hope to get back into it a little bit more frequently. But so far, the sword has held up well for that. There are a few things that I need to address, and I'll cover those shortly as well. Now, as far as how good is the blade itself, the heat treat is very good, although I've got the nick in it here. It did not take a bend or set in any way. I accidentally hit a screw in my stand. So there's a 4x4 post that has a larger platform on top that I can set bottles on that made it easier than trying to balance it on top of the 4x4. Design flaw in it, I had one screw in the middle to hold that top piece on. What I probably should have done is clamped and glued it. So mental note for future stand, that's what I'm going to do with it. The heat treat did stand up very well. The edge is not razor sharp. It was sharp enough to cut with. I would like to see it a little bit sharper. So to help remove the little bit of this chip as much as I can and put a little bit more of an edge to it, I'm going to start reworking it on that. And since it's under $200, it's certainly something that I can do without worrying about damaging the worth of the sword. Won't affect the value for it for that. There's a mild bit of staining on it here, even though I cleaned it afterwards. I'm not sure what's going on with that. I've not had that with my other previous cutter, which was a simple cold steel Katana. I cut with that for a couple years. I did not have any sort of staining, so I'm going to also see if I can polish this out a little bit. So as you can see in a few of these photos, there's a little bit of damage to the saya. That was just from wearing it in the armor while I did one tatami mat worth and a few water bottles with it. So it wasn't excessive use. I wore it maybe 15 minutes and there's a number of small dings in it. It is certainly still serviceable. It's not anything that affects that in any way. A little bit of wood putty and maybe some touch up and it would be perfectly fine, but it's not bad enough that it's actually bothering me at this point, because that's the part that's also tucked in to the sash for that, so it's not visible once I'm wearing the sword anyway. So how's the handling? It's very lively in the hand. It was very easy to cut with. The first few cuts actually surprised me how well the factory edge did on it. It's not the best edge that I've ever seen on a sword, but for a sub 200 katana, it did very well for that. The bohi, as I mentioned earlier, helps lighten it up a bit. That makes it a little bit more lively in the hand for that, so no issues with committing to a swing and recovering, nothing with over swinging. If you saw my cutting and armor video, a little bit of my overcommitment on that was a combination of not having cut anything for over 6 months at that point, plus the first time wearing samurai armor for that, so I was a little bit over exaggerated. You'll also see me loading up the cut farther behind behind me than I need to, but this is just for the first few cuts with it, getting familiar with it. Certainly not necessary, it's just something that I was doing in those videos. Wouldn't exactly be the best form during a real fight. It's telegraphing too much, but fight science is a whole different subject that I'm not going to get into for this. We're just worried about how's the sword doing and how is it cutting. Now, as far as pros and cons with this sword, the biggest pro is that you can customize not only the color of the grip, but you can also customize the Minuki fittings for it, the Fuchi, the Kashira, even down to the Seppa and the Habaki. All of the fittings of the handle, you can choose what you want for that. You can choose the color of the Same for the grip inside of it. You can also pick which type of blade you want. They offer a number of different blade types for this. This is the basic 1060 lower end of that, but since this is the first time buying from them, I didn't want to go all in and get anything a lot more expensive than this. Figured I would try it out and see, but I'm very happy with it. Certainly would suggest them if you're looking for a custom sword under $200 or $300, or if you're looking to get something in maybe 9260 spring steel or T10, they also offer those for under $400, which is also a very good deal. I did purchase a Nodachi from them out of 9260 spring steel that I'll cover in an upcoming video for that as well. Boy, is that a monster cutter. So now that we've covered a little bit about the sword, let's see how it did with the cutting. That's Katanas.for-sale.com or SamuraiSwords.store. Keep an eye out, sometimes they run promos. They're running one right now for Halloween. I purchased the Nodachi that I mentioned back for New Year's on January 1st. They also had a deal for that as well. I think it was about 20% off. So I hopped on that because not only do you get the discount with it, you still get to customize, pick all the fittings and everything else. Alright, if you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up below. Let me know what you thought down in the comments. And if you want to join the Samurai Clan, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you tick that bell so that you see all the upcoming notifications when I post new videos. And until next time, this is Samurai James saying sayonara.